AI is getting better at everything you're good at. Faster writing, instant analysis, zero fatigue. You're already leaning on it for the repetitive stuff and quietly wondering how long before it's better at the hard stuff, too. Today, we'll try to get some of those answers with our guest. His name is Jeff Burningham. He's run for governor, built multiple companies, taught thousands of students, and wrote a book called The Last Book Written by a Human, specifically because he sees what's coming: job loss, disinformation, isolation, and a fundamental identity crisis for anyone who's built their worth around doing things machines can now do better. Listen, this conversation won't fix AI for you, but it will give you a clear framework for what to protect, what to let go, and why your messy, emotional, embodied humanity is the only thing machines can't outcompete. This is Brobots, the podcast that tries to help you be a better human by being smarter about how you use technology. And this is a fun episode because Jeff is very optimistic about the future of AI and about the future of how we interact with it. You'll soon find that Jason and I don't share the same optimism, at least maybe not in the same way. Maybe it's our Gen X roots, but there's something about handing over everything that we've built society around forever to machines that we just don't trust. Trust isn't something inherent in the Gen X brain. So hopefully by the end of this conversation, we're able to absorb some of Jeff's optimism, and you can too, so that we can all get on board with finding ways to use this advancing technology to be better people, to use it as a bridge to connect with other humans, and to, in general, make the world a bit of a better place with the help of our new robot overlords. But let's get right to it. Jeff, thanks so much for being on the show. One of the first things I want to ask you about is I've heard you talk about this. This is mentioned in the book. I've seen you in other interviews mentioning the idea that AI is really a mirror for us. And on the surface, I agree with that. But there's the man behind the curtain, right? That is manipulating what the mirror is showing. So I'm curious your thoughts on how it can be used as a mirror, but who's behind that mirror that's orchestrating the outcomes?
Yeah, when I talk about, I do talk about in the last book written by a human, AI is a cosmic mirror to humanity. And that man behind the curtain, Jeremy, is a person. It's one of us, right? Or an army of us, whatever, a host of us, a part of us. And I think that, so often we have division as a core kind of idea in our minds. Obviously, the almighty algorithm of social media has increased that. But I think that this divine oneness or unity is more at the reality of this existence. And so the people behind the curtain are part of us as well. So, it's us and it's just us. So AI acts as a cosmic mirror because it takes all of human recorded data, how we all interact with it, and then provides a reflection back. Now, there might be some lever pulling behind the curtain. Again, though, that's coming from us. It's coming from humans, I would argue. So that's how I would maybe talk about that or make the distinction.
It feels a bit like someone has taken tinfoil and polished it really, really well, and is sitting there and doing this with it, and it's changing the angles on it. So what we're seeing reflected back to us is kind of carnival mirror-esque. But like you said, yeah, that's still us. You can't get away from the fact that as an organic species and a collective of, different thought patterns, that we do some dumb shit.
We do. And it is still us, CEOs, politicians, whatever, are still us. They might be the best or the worst part of us. I don't know, but it's still us. So I think that AI isn't as much a technological problem as it is a human problem. Now, this is a hard pill to swallow. It's easy to abdicate responsibility, say, this isn't me, this isn't us. But I think that this mirror, a reflection, can be a powerful thing. And in a reflection, we can see ourselves more clearly, and we can choose to change or to quadruple down on this old game of division and hate, greed, etc. The path that I point out in the last book written by a human is a different path, but it's one that will cause a lot of transformation.
That's the path I want to talk about, is where this thing is taking us. Because I mean, just sort of following on what we were talking about there, I can talk myself into circles on this is just a tool, and then I start logically thinking about how it works. I'm like, oh no, it works just like us. It's us just as much as we're us. Maybe a little bit less meat on the outside, but where are we going with this? Because I've heard you talk about, and a lot of optimistic people in the AI space are saying that this is our path to utopia. This is a way for us to not have to live to work. This is a path to come back to ourselves and figure out what our real meaning is, and who we truly are at our core, instead of meeting the KPIs that please the boss and make the most money. How optimistic are you that we end up in a place like that?
Oh gosh, Jeremy, you're asking the good questions. I'm not optimistic in the short term. I am optimistic in the longer term. Because, though, you could also say it's pragmatic. What's the alternative? I mean, we could all kind of be doomsdayers, think we're going to hell in a handbasket. I'm not sure what good purpose fear has served humanity. Like, of course, if a tiger jumps into the podcast studio here, we're running for our lives. But I mean, short of, unique instances like that, I'm not sure that fear serves a good purpose for humanity, generally speaking. So, I'm optimistic long term. And I guess I would say I'm trying to use kind of, maybe benign, a little bit esoteric language. But I think if there is a quote unquote divine purpose in AI being here now, or if there's some intertwining of existence in I think that we will realize that through a process of transformation and evolution. You could say a new earth is coming, a new humanity is coming. There might be part of humanity that kind of gets lost in the machine in a digital, ungrounded reality. And then there are another part of humanity that will stay grounded in whatever this reality is, will stay embodied, you could say. And I think that we can build something beautiful together. So, I guess I believe in the utopian aspect, but I've had enough life experience that I'm not stupid enough to say that that's number one, a given, and number two, that's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard as shit, as you guys know. Like, we've got hell to pay here in the short term, I'm afraid. But, it seems that humans need pain to transform. And I think that's where we're headed.
Are there stories that you've read, fictional or non-fictional, that give you hope? Because every fictional story about AI that I can remember is always dystopian. And in the end, yes, the good guys, I guess the humans, might win out, but it's always at an extreme sacrifice, and they always wind up taking the AI offline. Uh, what story are we writing? I mean, honestly, like, we're following this model, and it feels very much so like we're repeating a lot of the exact problems that authors have been warning us about since like the 30s, and we seem hellbent on making this happen. And I think you're right. This is a reflection on humanity, but not just in what it does, but in the belief that we have to have this thing to create an advantage over somebody else, because the people that are using it aren't using it necessarily to make humanity better as much as they are to make whatever thing they're working on easier for them, or innovate faster, or turn this thing into an advantage against other humans. So,
Yeah, the story I would cite, Jason, is the hero's journey, the story of all stories. And that's almost in every story. So I kind of think that we're all on our heroic journey individually, and collectively we're on a heroic journey. Now, there's always a shadow side of that, right? Or a dark side of that. And what you see play out in the movies, as you reference, like Terminator, whatever movie you want to reference, where we're kind of playing out our shadows, doesn't it feel like we're examining the edges, we're wondering about how this could all go wrong, how this could go badly. And by the way, it could, maybe it has before. You said that we're repeating patterns. Maybe this has all happened before. This is a cosmic puzzle, a cosmic game that we're trying to kind of figure out together. And I think that that story is told via the heroic journey arc. So I don't even want to name, like every story, almost every story is this heroic journey. Well, welcome to the crucible that is existence. Welcome to the crucible that we get to pass through with highly intelligent machines and AI to hopefully for the hero to transform and evolve and come back with a little bit of wisdom. And I hope that that wisdom is focused squarely on human flourishing.
Humans, for a long time, have been working to be more and more efficient, and which is what's gotten us here. We want the robots to do the things that we're doing, and I guess as you mentioned, fear is not necessarily helpful, but it helps us frame what to avoid. And I see in myself a tendency to rely on it more and more for the repetitive tasks, the email generation, the writing of things that I could spend 10 minutes doing, but I can also get it done in 10 seconds. So why not take the 10-second route and do something else? We're a lazy people, a lot of us. Maybe I'm talking about myself. I don't know, but I guess I
You
am a
guys
little
just call
afraid.
it how it is. I like it. Sorry, I'm just laughing.
No, it's
I
great. It's
enjoy
great.
it. Yeah, yeah.
I guess
It's
I'm a
true.
little afraid of our lazy tendencies. The more that we rely on these things, I'm concerned that we give them all of the power and they take over and they just eviscerate us and turn us into their food.
Yeah, and let me say, kind of like Jason said, the movies have explored all these concerns, right? Or I'm not saying all of them, a lot of them. Do we all have good reason to be concerned? Yes, we do. But is that ultimately the best fuel to get us from here to there? I don't think so. And so yeah, I feel you. I understand what you're saying. I think that AI will again provide a test that we maybe have not experienced before. And AI can outdo us. Period. Full stop. End. Doesn't have to eat, doesn't sleep. So when a machine or something that we've created can outdo us, what are we left with? We're left with our being, guys. We're not human doings. Now, we become human doings in a lot of respects. We become drones in the system. And could this exacerbate that? Absolutely. I'm not, I'm not naive. However, when a machine can do so much of what we are used to doing, we are left with our being. And what I would say is that at least now and probably ever, AI can't out be human. Our competitive advantage actually is our humanity. So, in a contrarian point of view, the way to um, survive and thrive through this is to lean into our humanity. AI has never felt the pain of loss, guys, that you and I have felt. It hasn't felt the power of love. And it's this real beautiful messiness of humanity that actually is our strength.
So
And
what does that look like?
we're
What does that
about to be reminded of that in major ways, I think.
so what does that look like though? What do we lean into? What are the things that we should be doing in our day-to-day lives that help us forge that path for ourselves?
Yeah, I could say so many things. I'll say three or four real quickly. Number one, stop looking outside of ourselves. The answers that we're all searching for are inside of us already. So instead of external validation, possessions, climbing this mountain, doing this, doing that, look inside because, and again, I think that the cosmic mirror of AI will turn more of humanity inside. So I encourage everyone to have a meditation practice. Sit in stillness and do nothing. Just try it. There's no wrong way to meditate. Just start to strengthen those muscles of being able to go inside. Number one. Number two, get into nature. Nature is constantly modeling for us the reality of what is, the reality of existence. And when we lose touch with nature or with Mother Earth, you could say, it has a static like energy that causes us to forget ourselves and who we really are. So get into nature. I know these are simple things, but it's what we need to do, the basics. The third thing is lean into in real life experiences with other humans, not with your digital device, not with social media, not with AI. Those all have places, but we need to lean into, and I would say, fight for, I'm saying in parentheses, I don't like that word, but like to stay into real human contact, because it's in that friction of real human connection where growth occurs. I don't know how you guys use AI. My AI says I'm the best looking guy that's ever existed, the smart, like lay it on, lay it on.
Your
That's
AI
not
and
real
my
life.
AI need to talk to each other and get this figured out, because it's telling me that I'm the best looking guy.
Right. No, you're both
Exactly.
wrong. Clearly, yours are lying to you. You need to get this cleared up. This is a mess.
Yeah, we do need to work this
Which,
out.
from
But
that perspective,
that's,
it really does feel like AI is human.
yeah. Yeah, like that's not real life. Jace, I
I
hate to
know.
say we are not the most, and
No.
so it's in reality and in real human connection and relationship where the friction exists to help us transform, improve, evolve. So there's three simple ideas of things, Jeremy, that you could do. Turn inside, get into nature, and stay in contact with humans as much as you can.
So, just a quick point, and I would like to hear your take on this. So, AI is never going to out-human being human. And our experience of the real world uses things like emotions, which are chemical responses, to go through and shortcut and bypass the thinking process and the logic process to ensure that we survive. And, obviously emotions have evolved, and fear's a good one, right? Like, we learn to be afraid of things that look like bears because bears eat us. Um, Same with saber-tooth tigers. And we've evolved that and turned that into other pieces, like the digging of your phone if you're in a working job that's got 24/7 on-call duties all the time. There's all kinds of articles about there about people having anxiety about hearing the phone noise because it makes them go, oh, there's a work call coming up, and the inverse is that true, right? It's a dopamine fix. We get all these pieces. And I think we've tried to machine up humans in a way to elicit psychological responses from them and chemical responses out of people in an attempt to allow machines to be able to measure and understand humans. And I think we're taking that data and pulling it back in to help robots talk to people in a relatable way. I guess my question is it, is the AI humanity, or is there a point at which that gets cut off and AI actually is a standalone piece where they're their own function and they're just using their little orphan entity coder rings to talk to us dumb emotional meat sacks?
It is so easy to be optimistic with you guys. You guys have a very optimistic view, sunny view on the world. I love it.
The X in Gen X is not for exceptionally happy, by the way.
Oh gosh. Here's what I argue in the last book written by a human. I actually think the greatest tool that we've created and devised so far, in my opinion, we've been creating tools for as long as we've existed, is AI. Period. But the most powerful technologies, in quotes, that we don't understand how they work, that we've created, is actually our feelings and emotions, Jason. It's human feeling and emotion. And it's the ability to connect intimately in proximity with other humans in community and one-on-one, et cetera. And so I actually think those are higher level technologies, and that, I'm putting technologies in quote, that allow us to stay connected to each other. And so a robot, AI, does not feel that. It can't feel that. And so again, I think it's in leaning into our humanness. Now, humanity can be manipulated. All you have to do is look, I ran for governor. Like, I ran a statewide campaign. Utah, if you guys don't know, is a pretty damn homogeneous state. Yet I would go to meeting after meeting, and I would see people, neighbors, that shared like 93%, I'm making up a number, but a lot in common. They were fighting over the 7% of differences that their social media feed had fed to them. So, will this technology, quote unquote, manipulate us, or could it? Could it bring out the worst of humanity? Absolutely. We actually see that. And by the way, I think that will continue, yet it's through that pain that we come back to ourselves. And that's my hope. That's my argument. That's my goal. I could be wrong. Like we might not make it, guys, but
Right.
I think this is the best path forward. Like give me a better idea or a better path forward. I'm open to ideas if you
No,
guys
and
have them.
I think you're right. I mean, just last night I was at a softball clinic with my daughter and helping these kids. Like one of the coaches just like helping throw balls around and keep them engaged. And there were multiple moments where I just felt myself like truly having fun, like just lost in the moment, like loving it, and realizing like none of these kids are on their screens right now. We're all here in reality in this shared moment. Like what a beautiful thing we're doing together right now. Now, I also am on my device or a device or multiple devices all day. And when I log off or turn one off, there is a pull to like get back on, like you feed the beast, feed the dopamine, get that feeling. That's a very different response. And that one I feel like is more powerful. And maybe because it's easier to tap into, right? I just pull out any of the 3 devices within arm's reach, and all of a sudden, like brain feel happy momentarily. But organizing, getting 30, teenage girls into a gym to throw a baseball around, like that's way harder. But man, it's so much more rewarding. And you leave with all the girls just like giddy and talkative and happy. Like you can see the true joy that it creates for them. So I want a world where there's more of that too. I want the robots assembling all the things so we can go throw balls around and play and just enjoy our spin around this rock.
Yeah.
But there has to be sort of a little of both, right? Because that's the world that we, at least for now, live in until the robots fully take over.
We're going to
So
Wall-E ourselves.
there you go. So in what ways do you use AI? Like where do you blend the humanity and the machine for yourself that you are finding to be productive and helpful in your life?
Yeah, the first thing I'd say is let's make sure that we use AI as a bridge to real human connection. So you probably used technology to organize. I'm going to make this up. The softball night last night, but then it ended up with 30 humans together, laughing, having fun, connecting, present. And so let's make sure. So I always try to make sure that I'm using technology as a bridge. I'm a former venture capitalist. I built several large companies here in Utah. I've got 3 screens up in front of me right now. I know what you're talking about, but it's 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 got to be a bridge to humanity. Number one. Number two, obviously, I'm a believer that let's say talent is fairly evenly distributed around the world, but opportunity is not. Well, I'll tell you that like AI is a leveler potentially in terms of education. So I think in terms of like intelligence being commoditized, it's powerful. If you live in a developing country or community where there is not good opportunities for education, you just now have the smartest tutor in your pocket at any time and moment. So I think it can be a massive kind of leveler of educational, let's say, opportunities. So, so I use it in that form and regard with my kids. Let me tell you what I also do with my kids. And this last thing I'll say, I feel like I'm, going long, but the last thing I'll say is, Jeremy, we need to model what we want our kids to do. So we try to have digital free Sundays, like device free Sundays. We try. We're not perfect at it. They
Sure.
usually come out in the night. I get it. But like we try to have a fast, so to speak, of digital devices. The other thing that we definitely do, we're pretty damn good at this. There are no screens at our dinner table. When we're eating a meal together, there are no screen. It's just like there's no screens.
Yeah.
So the point is, we as adults need to put up guardrails and model for our children and the rising generation the behavior that we want to see. Again, I've been an adjunct professor down the street at BYU in entrepreneurship to thousands of students. And one of my favorite things to say to them, and this just goes along with the whole conversation, so I just want to say it real quick, is that the most simple ideas are often the most powerful and therefore the most neglected. So I'm talking about a lot of simple ideas, But believe me, they are the most powerful, but they're the easiest to neglect. We're going to be reminded to come back, I think, to these basics through pain. This is what I think is going to happen. At some point, I think we say enough is enough. Again, this is my hope, and we come back to ourselves. But we might just all get lost into the machine and never come back. I don't know.
Right. We might red pill ourselves all the way through. But along
Yes.
those lines, and trying to stay more positive on these component pieces, I had a project and that I'm working on this week to create a bunch of slides for a sales kickoff for the company that I work for. And, I looked at this project and it's easily 160 hours of work if you sat there and tried to type it all out, draw all the images, pull all those pieces in. And I used AI and turned it into about a 16-hour project. And, there was a lot of tweaking and refinement. And ultimately speaking, reviews and everything else went out. And I had to double check work and everything else. But I recovered 90% of that time. Now, did I take that 90% of that time and go, oh, I'm free. I'm going to go outside and walk
That's
in
what
the
I was
forest?
just going to ask you,
Like-
Jason. What did you do with that?
Well,
That's the question.
And I didn't. So, but what I did
Yeah.
do is I went, all right, I worked hard on this thing for this 16 hours. Instead of taking 4 weeks to do this, I got it done inside of a week. This inside of a week period that I'm here, I'm going to back off and I'm going to come revisit this later on and check it again and look at it. But at the same time, I'm going to find ways to go out and do things that are actually good for me. Like I took a walk with the dog. I did an extra session at CrossFit. I actually sat down and I watched I started that series, The Pit, so I could watch these things in motion. And yes, that was good for 8 to 9 hours of distraction pieces. And then I came back and I started working on stuff and refining stuff. But I feel like I got a little bit of extra something back to produce and create these things. And I think we've been modeling for our kids this notion that you need to work for 40 hours a week. You have to have a full-time job. You have to make all these pieces happen. We're not set up with UBI. The system is not set up to allow us to have freedom. The system is set up to say, no, you didn't work hard enough, work more. So how do we train people, and especially kids, to go, it's okay for me not to work 40 hours a week. It's okay for me to go through, do these component pieces, do this work, get an output that's good, and then fuck off and do something much better for us. Because I need that advice. I don't do it well. So
Yeah, no, it's a great real life example. You got all this time back. How do you spend it? Again, the name of the book is The Last Book Written by a Human. The subtitle is Becoming Wise in the Age of AI. So, Jason, here's how we become wise, or one of the ways. When a machine is better at doing so much of what we're used to doing, what do we do with that extra time? And that's a key question. And I've given some answers around nature and relationship, etc. The book follows a natural progression. There are 4 sections: from disruption, change is the only constant, to reflection, to personal transformation. It's called transformation. And then the last section of the book is evolution. So here's the point, Jace. That evolution section is all about reforming our institutions, reforming religion, educational reform. There's a chapter about conscious capitalism, and then a political chapter as well, where I talk about a new political movement that I call the human political movement. So when I talk about rebirth, I'm talking on a collective scale as well as an individual scale. So I think that institutions, and I don't want to be a doomsdayer, I don't know how it will play out, I don't want to cause concern. I think there's a lot of institutional pain and change coming in all those areas. And it's going to be up to those institutions are all made up of a bunch of humans. So as humans change, institutions change. And as we rebirth our institutions, things like the 40-hour work week, things like it has to be all about doing and not being, things like, greed in terms of capitalism and consumption changes. And I think that's coming over the decades ahead. I think that change is coming. And I think that AI ushers or helps to roll that out if we choose to have it help.
choice seems to be the big part there, because we could
Yeah.
choose to do that with our own little photocopy meat puppets that we call kids, and yet greed still exists. and shitty
Yeah.
behavior still exists. Why do we think AI, which you've said is a reflection of us, is going to be better?
Well, I don't think it's going to be better. I think it's going to be more transformative. And another way to say it is more painful.
The
So
crucible
you,
will be tighter. Okay. Yeah. All
yes.
right.
So you look at disinformation, obviously, like disinformation is going to be a massive problem for humans. Number one, job loss. I ran for governor. I don't know if you know this stat, but the single most important statistic for civil unrest in a country or community is unemployment of males ages 18 to 40.
Yep.
There's going to be job loss here to come. I hope not a lot, but there could be a lot. So anyways, and we could go on to AI warfare and other things that we don't want to talk about
Sure,
here because
yeah.
you guys will take us down to pure hell. But very quickly, we'll
dare
just
you.
spiral out of control. Sorry, and I just met you guys.
Jeff, how many of our podcast episodes have you listened to?
Yeah, I guess you're a long-time listener, I can tell.
You're a
Yeah,
long-time
exactly.
listener, first-time caller. All right.
I actually have never listened, but I get your vibe very quickly. It just oozes out of you. And I say that with love. But so the point is, like, it's through that pain, through some collapse of society and of individuals, of families, that again, we'll have a choice to make. Is this working for us? I talk in the book about an old game that we've been playing or a new game, and I encourage a pivot to the new game. Because the old game, if we quadruple down on this game we've been playing, I think at some point most of you guys are going to say, this isn't working. Like, we've got to change. And it's kind of going to be I also use this term in the book. AI is kind of a metaphorical judgment day for humanity. So Judgment Day is coming.
Terminator
and we
2.
get to we get to decide.
Judgment Day. Just saying.
Oh, geez. We get to decide which road we take. And what I hope we do, I hope we take the road less traveled. And I think it will make all the difference.
You ran for governor.
Yeah.
We talk a lot on this show about regulation and how there is none, and there won't be for a long time the way things are currently set up. How do you think there should be more? Do you think the government needs to step in and rein things in?
This is a tough question because I think the answer is yes. So yes, period. But what causes me, can it? Is it possible? And that might be no, period. Like, because it's just too slow. This technology is coming on so quickly. I think that consciousness is awakening in humanity fairly quickly. Government can't keep up. In fact, it wasn't designed to keep up. So should there be more regulation? Yes. Can it happen fast enough in its current form? I'm highly doubtful. So then what do we do? I don't know. That's one of the main issues, big issues that we get to grapple with as we continue to exist and try to point AI towards human flourishing instead of division and destruction.
That would be nice. All right, that's a great place to end it there. Jeff, thanks so much for your time today. The book is the last book written by a human. Obviously, the robots can find it for us, but if you want to tell folks, where can they find the book?
Yeah, it's for sale everywhere, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, and it's on Audible if you'd rather listen. And I wrote the book to be a conversation starter like this. I love this conversation, guys. Thanks for making me laugh. This is so thanks for making me laugh today. I'm easy to find at Jeff Burningham on pretty much every social media, have very mixed feelings, but I want to hear what people think after they listen or read it. This should be a conversation that we're having in 2026. The time is now. As our machines get more and more intelligent, we as humans have to become more wise.
Links to Jeff and the book in the show notes for this episode at brobots.me. Jeff, thanks so much for your time, and we'll talk again soon, I hope.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, it's been fun. See ya.
All right, our thanks to Jeff for putting up with our crap for the last half hour or so. Jeff, thanks so much. That was a really fun conversation. I do feel a little bit more optimistic about the future, so I appreciate that. For anyone who is interested, like I mentioned, the show notes will contain the links to Jeff and his social accounts, the book, the last book written by a human. That's also where you're going to find the links to follow this show and to subscribe and to make sure you not miss another episode like the one that's coming up on Monday morning in your favorite podcast player. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you then Monday morning at brobots.me.